What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Modern Mortgage Show, where I interview mortgage professionals who share their stories and modern information about the industry. I'm your host, Rocco, and I'm excited to introduce my guest for today. His name is Mark Canale, and he's the branch manager at Movement Mortgage out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rocco. Appreciate you having me.
So, Mark, why don't we just start off the show? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and give us a brief introduction of who you are?
Sure. Mark Canale, I've been with Movement for now 3 years, based out of Philadelphia. It's most of my business is in Philadelphia, and been in the business 5 years now. So I've been pretty good. Can't complain. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty much it. I don't have a long story to it. That's pretty much what we have here.
Cool. So you've been in the industry for 5 years, you said. Did you do any work or anything before you got into the industry? What did you do before then?
I was in the military, and then I bounced around a lot of entrepreneurial types things, trying to find my way. My family has been in the construction building business for a while, so I kind of knew when I was looking for my next role, I kind of knew it was going to be either realtor, insurance, or mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just something about I get a high off of being like the guy that's responsible for hundreds of thousands of dollars in someone's largest purchase of their life. Mm-hmm. So I like that responsibility. So it's worked out well for me. Not to mention, I feel like the loyalties are better in the mortgage industry. You know, like insurance. I know a lot of great mortgage guys, a lot of great insurance guys, and they can get smoked by somebody's premium being $100 less. There's no loyalty. They're just like, I got to move on to the next guy. Realtors, I've heard the horror story a million times. My cousin's, third, sister's best friend just got their license. I'm going to let them, they don't see the value in what a realtor brings to the table. But from a mortgage perspective, I've saved more deals and restructured things and thought outside the box in a different way that maybe someone else didn't think. People remember that shit. And they tell their friends and they tell their family, and it just snowballs and snowballs where they're just like, you thought of something someone else didn't. So I've noticed, obviously, in the 5 years, it's grown pretty substantially, to the point where I like that people see the value and they tell their friends and they tell their family. The referrals just continue to pour in based off of you doing exactly what you say you're going to do. So that's how I got into the mortgage aspect of it.
Yeah, makes sense. And why did you? So why did you think it was going to be the three between insurance, realtor, or mortgage?
Well, it was, for me, it's always been, I've always wanted to be either a commission or performance-based business. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of everybody being salaried. Mm-hmm. I think almost everything in life should be compensated based off of work performance to keep people accountable. Any kind of entitlement only makes you weak. And I don't think anything should be like that. I've multiple conversations with people, and it's happened to me all the time that I was just like, I'm not gonna have that happen to me. I don't want to make, $50,000, and the number doesn't have anything to do with it. I'm just using that as an example. Yeah. I don't want to say I'm on this. And when it happened when I was in the military, some guy had one more stripe than I did, and because he outranked me, he could tell me what to do, regardless of his intelligence level or whether he was better at a job than me. He could do that, and I never wanted to be in that position. I wanted all my accolades and respect that people have for me in my industry to be based off of what I can do and what I've proven to do already. So I've earned everything that I've gotten. Nothing was a handout, and people don't just call me because it's Movement Mortgage or whatever. Like, it's based off performance. Mm-hmm. So 100% commission. I don't want anything for free. I want everything to be earned. And whether it's your own business or you're in a business that doesn't have a base or anything like that, and everything's based off of your reputation, that's what I've always wanted. It just makes me feel better, because now I know you eat what you kill. Like, if I put the work in, you should see the results, not just, I can clock in, and if I don't feel like working today, I'm still getting paid. So it's cool. Like, that doesn't happen in this world. And that's just how my mind works. So that's how I got into this one. Just so happens it happened to be money and finance and, mortgages, but it could work. It really could work on any in any platform. I could have done it, I assume, in any platform. Just this one kind of seems to be my calling. So.
Yeah, I agree. So you want it to be in control. And I agree with that because then, you earn everything you do. It pushes you harder. When you're just salary, regardless, you're getting paid. So you would naturally want to do the least amount of work that you could because you're still getting paid.
Yeah. And if you don't, like I've talked to, I have this conversation with people all the time. They're just like, man, I'm just like working my ass off and I'm not seeing anything. And I'm like, well, this is the corporate structure. It happens everywhere. It even happens within, our own companies. You have operationals and stuff like that. The people get paid a fixed amount, and the machine keeps going, and we can't really tell. There's no platform to see that somebody's doing better at something than someone else, and it's not personal. Like it should never be racial. It should never be based on your sex, anything like that. It's if you're better than something, than someone else, then you should get compensated more, and you should grow faster. You should get promoted faster. Take everything out of it. It's strictly based on how you perform your job. That's why they say it's not personal. It's just business. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I agree, and I do think that everyone should be more performance based, and because funny story. So yesterday I was at a grocery store and I was checking out with the cashier, and she was like the first line from like the stuff, and the other two people didn't have any customers, and people kept coming to her line, and she actually said, "Hey, they're open down there." So if she got paid based on how many people she rang up, she wouldn't be turning those people away. But since it's $10 an hour, she wants to do, the minimal amount of work and just turn them to other people, so she didn't have to do it.
I mean, listen, compensation has a lot to do with it. Some people aren't as incentivized to hustle based on a $10 an hour cashier. I get it, but you're right. I mean, if I was running that grocery store and there was a way to build in some sort of tiered performance package to say, from efficiency standpoint, if you scan so many items or whatever, we're going to give you an extra $20, whatever, however it works. I think people work harder when they have something to shoot for. When the monotony kicks in and there's just nothing, there's no incentive to do more. Well, I would do the minimum too. I'm making the same amount of money, whether I break my balls or I just show up and sit in this chair. So I get it. I would do it too, but that's not how I wouldn't run a company that way, and I don't run my team that way. And there's all kinds of bonus structures put in place for my team based off of how many loans we close, volume we close. There's always some sort of incentive to just make people want to always go above and beyond. So that's how I do it. And that's how I just think it works better that way. Because then you get that entitlement. Entitlement is the worst thing possible, especially in this type of business. When like even when you build your referral base up to a certain point and the loans just keep coming, like you can never just get complacent and assume they're gonna. That's why I'm really not a big fan. I'm not in any offices. I don't do any MSAs. I don't have any teams, so to speak, that are like, we're exclusively here. Like, I don't want anything to ever just be, here you go, we have an agreement in place, and because I'm paying you a certain amount of money, you get this. Like, the money doesn't matter. I mean, giving an office $1,000 a month means absolutely nothing. You honestly shouldn't run your business based off of what somebody's willing to pay you every month. Because if you do business based off relationships, based off performance, you will make more money than you know what to do with. When you worry about that, well, this lender over here or this title company over here is going to give me $5,000 a month to be sitting in my office. What are you willing to give? Absolutely nothing. But what I can give you is better service than anybody else, better education, better communication, all that stuff. And that in turn will grow your business and make that $5,000 look like pennies. So I think that's short-sighted, and that's why I don't do business with anybody like that when their first conversation is, well, how much can you contribute to my Zillow? They're like, well, it's nice meeting you. Have a nice day. I automatically know what you want. Yeah. And that's not what I want. I want to work with realtor partners, financial advisor, whatever any kind of referral partner I do business with, I want to work with people that see the value and I bring, I see the value they bring. And if we both do our job and build relationships appropriately, then the monetary aspect of it should always be your last thing you're worried about. When you treat your $80,000 loans like your $800,000 loans, people can feel that. They know that you're really just interested in making sure that they have the best experience, the best education, the best communication out of anything. And you didn't treat them like you're making peanuts on this loan, because they feel that. They're like, oh, he never returns my calls. Is it because is it because I can't afford a $500,000 house? And, you might get one, you might get through that one, but he's not going to be happy. And we're in the business of shining to the point where people, for us, families, to be like, this guy just did everything that no one else did. And then that next guy buys a $1 million home because he's like, wow, you treated my brother like a person, not like a commission. So it just works. It works on every aspect, whether it's paying to be in an office or just treating all your loans the same. So.
Yeah, 100%. And moving along here, what would you say is the most satisfying or rewarding thing about your job?
Well, I mean, they're all rewarding because at the end of the day, someone put that trust in you. You get the trust on multiple levels, right? So when a realtor refers you a deal or a client, they're essentially saying, this guy, girl wants to buy a house. Can you get them approved? They're trusting you that you're doing your due diligence appropriately. And when you tell them they're qualified to buy, they can take the time now to go find them a home. And when they actually do their due diligence and put them under contract, then they're basically like, I did my job. Now you do yours, right? And the satisfaction of everybody doing their part, staying in their lane, not trying to step on any boundaries or trump anybody up. Say, I did mine. Now this is your lender. He's going to take you the rest of the way. Then you take it home and everything works the way it is. That feeling of knowing that we all work together, we all respect what we bring to the table in our actual roles, and it just flows like one after another. No micromanaging, no stepping on anybody's toes. Like that feeling is great. And the other one is, which is kind of selfish, but it is what it is. Like we're kind of known for rescue deals. When someone called, I'm a little bit immune to the loan size. That doesn't really hype me up anymore. Getting $1 million loan like that, it's great. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. What gets me nowadays, I'm actually just working on one right now, is when somebody reads one of my reviews on Zillow and gets impacted enough to reach out to me based on what they've read and what other people have said. And they say that someone else, so they've talked to 3 or 4 other people, and they keep telling them they're not approved. Chances are, if you talk to enough people, they're probably right. But I'll always have a conversation with anybody that takes the initiative to call me based off of just straight internet presence. They don't know me from anybody. They just read something and it was enough for them to call me. And then I look into it and I find a way for it to work. And they're so overcome with they're just blown away that I was able to figure that out. That feeling, especially on like a first-time home buyer, a single mother that has like 3 kids, she saved all her money to have like $7,000 and she makes 40 grand a year. And you find some like down payment assistance program to help her out. And, you throw her credit, whatever you can do, and you find a way for it to work. Those people are so appreciative to the work that you put in that is what drives me now to kind of like take the extra mile on a loan that maybe somebody wouldn't pay attention to anymore. I'm going to pay attention to it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to find a way. And if I don't find a way, then we'll put you on some kind of plan as to we see what the problem is. And these are the steps we're going to take to get you there in 6, 9, 12 months or whatever, so that we can get you there. Like those buyers are underserved because, they're not exactly like money makers, from a company standpoint or a commission standpoint. Like you're not exactly setting the world on fire on $120,000 loans, $150,000 loans. But there's plenty of buyers in that price point that are just not getting the attention, and they might just need a little bit of digging to see where the hole is, to find out where to fix it. And that seems to be my new purpose, at least I'd say like in the last 12 months. As you just hit certain accolades, volume at a certain level just becomes whatever. You know, you get over a certain amount of volume, you're like, it's great. You know, you reach President's Club, you're like, awesome, you know, got that. But then you have to find something else to drive you, because it's no longer monetary. It's no longer, you know, anything like that. It's like, we got to find another thing to keep me motivated, to be like, let's keep doing this. That's why I align well with my company, because, you know, Movement Mortgage they're just so much more than a mortgage company. And it makes me feel better about what I do, that I'm not just trying to line the pockets of hedge funds and you know, people that want to take their company public, which again, that's your model. That's great. I'm all about capitalism, grow your company as big as you can. But when you can take the platform that we have, where we reach so many people and we're so impactful on that major purchase, and then you can take that money that you make from a mortgage company standpoint and better serve your community, whether it's, you know, Movement's building schools down in Charlotte, or we're doing mission trips in other parts of the country and building orphanages and hope centers, all that stuff. Like, when you can do something like that, it just makes the things that we do in our own communities that much more impactful. So like, at least in the last year to a year and a half, I've transitioned to, let's close as many loans as possible and make as much money as possible and write as much volume as possible. As like, okay, well, those things are cool, but now that we're at this point, what am I going to do with that power, essentially, that I have, that presence in the community, or the amount of referrals that I have? Like, what am I going to do with that? So that's what's been driving me most recently.
There's nothing like seeing what you do and directly impact someone's life. And like you said, you know, impact over income, because when you are impacting people, the income will, you know, it'll come with it. And shifting gears here, when you first got started out in the industry about 5 years ago, what were some struggles or obstacles you faced early on?
Right. So I get asked this question a lot, because I didn't really have that typical ramp up that most people have. Yeah, I made President's Club my first full year. So it was I hit the ground running, and it just worked. And what I try to tell people is, what I did, at least at my first bank, was I surrounded myself, and I would do this in any life. They try to be as self-aware as possible. Like, understand what you suck at, and what you're good at. And I knew coming in, I didn't know shit about loans, but I knew I could talk to anybody. I knew I wasn't afraid to jump out and try something. I wasn't afraid to fake it till I make it. Like, say I knew something, and then go back to my team back at home base and say, like, here's a scenario, like, how do I fix this? And then come back and be like, oh, you know, like, I wasn't afraid to do that. So what I did was I surrounded myself with other 20, 30, 40, $50 million producers at my previous company. And I just watched. Like, some days I would just go to a fellow LO's office, because, you know, you're not really writing a lot of volume in the beginning. And I would just watch. I would watch her meet with clients, how she would dialogue with them, how the conversation would go back and forth, how she dealt with objections, how she dealt with questions, how she just did her whole pre-approval process, and how they felt comfortable with it. And really, confidence is what makes you comfortable. You know, when you can speak to buyers confidently, like, this is what I do, and this is what I do for a living, and I know it better than anybody else. So just trust the process, not to go down that road, but just trust what I do. And if you trust what I do, I will get you there. There's no bullshit. There's no, you know, there's complete transparency. There's no gray area where, like, I got to sneak a fee on you. Just listen to what I tell you, and I trust me, I will get you where you need to be. When you get that confidence by seeing other people do it. So what I did was I watched it, and then I figured out, all right, well, I like this. I like this. I like this. I kind of picked it apart, and I made it my own to kind of fit my personality and the way I like to deliver differently. So that's what I would say. And I take this back. There's a lot of dick loan officers out there. They're all self-righteous. They're all about me. What can I buy? How many loans can I write? And let me step on everybody on the way to the top. But I would say most loan officers that get to a point where they've made it volume wise are with speaking to and trying to help a younger, self-aware loan officer that doesn't think he's like hot shit because he's had $1 million month. Like if you come to me, especially, and you show that you want to learn, and you don't just want like a manual, because I don't have one. Like they're like, give me the secret sauce. That's the best one. Give me a secret sauce. I'm like, I don't have one, bro. You're gonna work what you want. Now, what you can do is if you want to sit in my office, or you want to come meet me somewhere, or you just want to kind of shadow and just watch me during the day and just see how I interact with people, and you think it's something you can take from that and then come up with your own way of doing it, I don't know if there's a loan officer that would say no to that. I think it's kind of your duty at a certain level when you get to that volume level. And again, I still reach out to people that do much more volume than I do and pick apart what they do and think how they would change some stuff. And I put it in my own business. I get DMs, all the time. I get phone calls from other loan officers in my company. They ask me questions. Everybody should be open to helping you. And that's how I did in the very beginning. I just reached out to everybody, picked their brain, and then took it and ran with it the way I wanted it to do it, my own brand. Like you really shouldn't try to be anybody else. Mm-hmm. Don't try to do what I do, because it'll sound super fake. Authenticity is my big thing. Like when you come off real, when you come off authentic, people see that. They know that you're not just trying to sell them a bill of goods. Like he's just trying to get me to get the biggest loan ever. I tell plenty of people, especially during this refi boom, plenty of people, like it doesn't matter what you read on the internet, that, you got to save at least a point to refi. That's not true. Every situation's different. And 30% of the people I talk to, I'm just like, you know what, this doesn't work. Well, thanks for being honest, Mark. Like, thanks for giving me, like, I talked to 3 people. They were just trying to get me to do it, but it didn't make sense to me that I was going to roll 10 grand worth of closing costs into my loan, and I was only going to save $60 a month. I'm like, because it doesn't make any sense. So that's what I would say to young loan officers coming into a bank, to reach out to the top performers and just be humble and say, like, can I just watch what you do? And then ask questions along the way, but don't try to be that person. Take pieces from 3 or 4 loan officers, see how they all act, how they all interact, and then come up with your own style of doing things and brands.
Yeah, and that was actually my next question. If you were to give advice to a loan officer starting out, so in other words, basically surround yourself and in your environment with people that are doing where you want to be, or they're doing what you want to be doing, and absorb as much as you can, and then just put your own little twist on it. Be yourself, be authentic.
That's what it is. Be yourself, be authentic, because you know what? There's enough loan officers out there that are going to call 50 agents a day and ask them out to lunch, and then get them out to a lunch and say, let me tell you how I can grow your business. There's plenty of them. We don't need any more loan officers like that. If you want to do that, there are a lot easier ways to make money than be a loan officer. Like if you're going to be and this is strictly my opinion, if you're going to be a loan officer that, has been closing loans for 3 or 4 years and you just can't get over that $5 million hump, it's probably not for you. Based on normal commission, say you're making 50 grand, I could find 100 different ways that are easier to make $50,000 a year than wake up every day and be like, I'm not making any money today unless I can get a deal or I can build a relationship of some kind. If it's not working, just own it. Be like, I'm going to try something else. There's enough loan officers that are offering free lunches to people. All right. If you're going to take those meetings, don't talk about your mortgage company. Don't talk about how you can grow their business. Worry only about building a relationship. Do a little recon on their Facebook, see what they like, see what kind of car they drive, see if they have any kids, where they like to vacation, and then just ask questions and let them talk. Care about the actual relationship that you're building. Don't even ask, at the end of it, don't even ask like, you think you have any buyers for me? Just get to know them, enjoy it for what it is, build that relationship. People like to do business with people that they like. So if they like you as a person, you won't have to ask. It'll just come. The business will just come.
Yeah, I agree with that. Here. In recent years, technology has made its way into the industry,
Mm-hmm.
and it's definitely, revolutionized it. How would you say this has affected you and your business?
You mean just over the last like 6 weeks with this pandemic shit?
No, 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 no. In general, in the last few years.
Well, so Movement Mortgage is a very technologically advanced company, but I would tell you that, and they might not like this, but I don't use most of it. I'm super old school, not to the point where I'm doing like handwritten applications, but like I'm super old school. And it may hinder my growth to a certain point because I will spend 40 minutes on the phone with a buyer, and on the first 20 minutes, we might not even talk about a mortgage. Like I tell people all the time, I'm not an application taker. Like you might tell me like, hey, I got 20% down on this. I'm going to ask you why. Like, who told you needed 20% down? Or, why do you want to live in this part of town? Or, whatever. Like, I'm always asking you questions to just dig deeper into how I can help you, not just say name, what's your address, what's your social. Okay, here's your pre-approval. Have a nice day. Like, anybody can do that. Yeah. So I do give people the option. I'm like, hey, I got a link. You want to just fill it out, and then I'll review it, and then we can touch base then. But I don't use nearly the tools that are out there for in the tech world. I don't use nearly enough of them because I truly feel that you will never take away the human elements of this particular business, whether it's a realtor, a insurance agent, any of those really important decisions that people want to talk to you about. You just can't replace it with a computer. You can't replace it with an application online. So I try to just save myself the extra step and just tell people like, hey, let's jump on a call and let's talk about it. And usually within the first 20 minutes, we just start talking, and then it just organically works out to, well, you know what, let's take your app. And I can blow through an app in 10 minutes. So that doesn't take me down. What takes the most of my time is just asking all the questions, letting somebody talk for a little while about what their scenarios and what they're trying to accomplish. And then it usually branches off into something else. They'll be like, yeah, well, I got my son's baseball game this Saturday and whatever. And then that just works out. Well, hey, I got daughters, what are you doing for sports? They play soccer. And then it just rolls into a friendlier conversation between two people that are just, whether you were talking at a barbecue, you forget what you're even talking about a loan app. And when you're done with that, you're like, oh yeah, shit. I guess we should take your app now. And they're like, oh yeah, cool. Like they're so comfortable with the scenario now because you're a genuine person that asks them questions about them and not just like, well, what price home are you looking at? Like, it doesn't matter. That'll just come. So the technology aspect of it, I'm not on that level. Now I'm trying to bump my social game up as much as possible. I get asked, any one of these that I get asked on, if I can add any value to anybody watching, I tell people all the time, email me, call me, DM me, whatever. If I can go on one of these and for an hour and talk about the way I do my business and bounce back and forth, I'm taking all the advantages I can. I'm flattered that people even ask me, so that's awesome. And then on top of that, social media. If this whole pandemic hasn't taught you that this is the new way of doing business, then you'll probably fizzle out and die in this game because this is it. So if you're not comfortable on camera, you better get comfortable. If you're an introvert, join a team with someone that's an extrovert because this is the new way of doing business. So this I have embraced 100%, because companies have now realized that they can run their business just as efficiently or more efficient with their employees working from home. So the Zooms, this kind of stuff, like you might have just dipped your toe in it before, but it kind of forced companies to transition into work from home. And now that they see it's functional and it's efficient, it's going to be everywhere. So this part of the technology, I embrace 100%. The online apps, the CRMs, they're nice, but I think at the end of the day, people being at a barbecue and saying, I just bought a house, we're like, yeah, man, it's been miserable. I've been dealing with this guy. It's been horrible. It's like, hey, listen, I was done in 20 days and everything that I said happened, you should call this guy. I think that will forever be the way that you get like true warm leads, not just going through 20 Zillow leads that just click your link. Like, those are nice, but that's not how I want to build my brand.
Yeah, and we definitely have to be adapting and evolving always. So where do you see all of this going in the future in terms of technology and how it impacts the mortgage industry? You were mentioning more of this. Do you think it's more video, more personal?
Yeah, I think social media presence is going to be going to be so much more. It's going to be so important. We're doing virtual closings becoming the norm. Those kind of practices there's not going to be closings anymore. I truly feel like this has made our industry evolve super fast. You know, realtors love it. They're like, I don't want, like, the closings are semantics. The deal's done. Like, we're just signing docs. Where I'm of the mindset where, like, I think it's an experience. I actually don't like. I get it, but I don't like that closings are probably going to go away, because I like the camaraderie and, like, the culmination of everything that works so hard for. Sellers might not care as much. The buyers, especially if they're first time home buyers, like, it's a cool time. They're signing docs. Like, you're at the table, there's like a buzz in the real estate office. Like, I think it's kind of cool. So, but I get it that the virtual closing is probably going to be the norm. So, we're doing a lot of, we haven't implemented it completely, but I'm trying to just do everything I can. So what I'll do is I'll have the package a couple days earlier, and I will do a Zoom call with the buyer with a share screen, kind of like this, where I scroll through the docs as if I was sitting right there with them. And I'll go through everything with them prior to answer any questions, go over any numbers they have, the next steps, what to expect post-closing. So then it just really does turn into a transactional experience. Like, that is the experience anymore with me. And then they go to closing and they're just clicking boxes and signing and virtually signing, because I already went over everything. So I think that's where we'll evolve to. And then from a marketing and advertising standpoint, yeah, like, I've said this on a bunch of other platforms. Like, I was a really big fan of hosting events. Like what I was saying about going to lunches and just talking to people. Like, I am a big fan of hosting events where just people just go, and there's nothing branded on it that says that this is a mortgage party or this is anything like that. This is just a group of everybody in our industry to come and have a good time. Talk to somebody you don't know. Talk to people you do know. Don't talk about business. Just have a good time. And that might go away. Now, I don't know when the next time I can host an event that 200 people are going to want to go to and be within a foot of each other. So, like, I have to find another way to accomplish that same goal without being able to host an event. So, like, I'm still working on that. I haven't figured it out yet, but that was my thing. And now it's not going to happen anymore. I don't really think it was, a driver for my success, but it was always something that, I think it's like my 6th or 7th one at this point. It did become like a thing where, like, these parties that Mark has, there's no bullshit. There's no ulterior motive here. Like, once he gets us all in the room together, he's going to start throwing like a slideshow on the screen about how Movement Mortgage is the best company in the world. Like, there was never anything like that. It was just a great DJ, a great time, great people, great drinks. And that was what it was. Like, so it was a good time. And then you would wind up running into somebody that you didn't know that was in the industry of some kind, or somehow it was in the network. And usually there was at least one relationship that would build out of that. So I have to find another way to create that same dynamic. Unless, 6 months from now, we've kind of evolved into like, yeah, no, we can have these parties again. But I think the technology aspect of it, if you don't adapt and overcome those hurdles with, if you only did the in-person meetings, you will phase out. Because if you're not on social media, if you're not present, if you're not showing at the top of people's feeds, if your stories aren't popping up on people's things, if they're not seeing you, top of mind is king. Like, you need to be top of mind. If they're not seeing you, they forget about you, and the phone won't ring. They just won't. They'll forget all about you. So even if the content's not the greatest, something goofy, like if I don't have anything to post about movement, I'll post something with my daughters or some funny meme. Like just make it something to add the human element to yourself as well, because nobody wants to see mortgage related content all day, every day. They want to see that you're actually a human being that is like funny. And I would like to hang out with this person outside of doing a transaction with them. He's got kids. That's cool. His daughters are funny. Do a TikTok with them. Like, you have to do it. If you can't do that, and I this certainly is not a stab at any of the elder statesmen and women in my industry. Like, you need to evolve. That's even harder for them. Like, they need to evolve into this new way of doing business, because it's going to be really challenging to stay top of mind on everybody's radar.
Yeah, and like Jocko Willink says in his book Dichotomy of Leadership, he says you need to be disciplined but not rigid. So definitely stick to what you're doing, but if things change, you can't be rigid. You have to be flexible, and you have to have the ability to, overcome and adapt to things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like change. When something works, I stick with it.
Yeah.
And, but this is completely outside of what anybody is expected.
Yeah.
You have to. I mean, this is where the industry's going. I think realtors are still going to be able to do business for the most part the same way. It can be at show homes. They still have in-person listing and buyers meetings with people. You can always sit on the other side of the table. So I think that stuff will still happen, but I think it's more about the retention and the marketing and the advertising and the way you kind of like get your voice out there. There's just not going to be, it's not going to be the same way. The lunch and learns, the big meetings at your office, at least for the next, I'd say 12 months, I think those are done. So if you do anything for 12 months, you'll probably be forgotten about, and it'll be too late to come back. If those marketing tactics do come back. So in the meantime, like, what are you doing to stay present and in front of people? So
yeah, we'll definitely see where this uncertain period of time takes us and when it blows over. But Mark, I really want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. I had an amazing time talking with you, and I really, really appreciate your time.
Awesome. Anytime, man. I had a good time. Appreciate it.
Thank you to all the viewers for tuning in, and we'll see you again next episode.